Hey guys, ChroNik here. Today I want to share my top 6 Chaos Zero Nightmare combat tips that are going to help you play better, both in Basin and in Chaos. Let's jump right in. So the first tip I have for you guys is to always pay attention to your draw pile and your discard pile. It's really important to know what's in your draw pile, especially when you're using card draw abilities, because if the important card you're looking to play this turn is in your draw pile, then it's definitely worth using the card draw ability, and you want to make sure that that card is not in your discard pile. And then another quick pro tip is that you can also look at your draw pile, and then if there's like no good cards in your draw pile, you can draw them and then they'll be discarded, so then the next turn you'll draw cards that are probably going to be better than those ones. And then another pro tip is that if there's 5 cards or less in your draw pile, then you know you're going to get those cards next turn because you always draw 5 cards, and then you can kind of plan 2 turns in advance. So yeah, that's my first tip. So the second tip I have for you guys is to generally draw before using any of your cards, because it'll just give you more options and then you can evaluate the turn in a better way. So for example, you might have a hand with all damage, but you need to shield, so then you draw and then you have that shield card that you need, or vice versa if you have only shielding or healing and you need an attack. And then there is one exception to this, which is if your hand is full, then you need to unload your hand a little bit before you can draw the cards that you need. The third tip I have is to pay attention to the enemy action counts and what they're actually doing. So for example, there might be an enemy that's attacking you the next action you're doing, and if you're just spamming attacks, then you're just going to attack them and then the enemy is going to attack you and you're going to take damage. But let's say you have like a shield card that you could play, then when the counter is at 1, then you can play that shield card, the enemy's going to attack you can block some of the damage, and then you can continue attacking afterwards. So yeah, like it's definitely important to pay attention to what the enemy is doing, and sometimes you want to target the enemy that's attacking you instead of the one that's just going to debuff you or that's going to shield. So yeah, it's always important to keep that in mind. The fourth tip is a bit of an obvious one, but I still feel like it's worth mentioning, and it's to count your AP and your cards before you take your turn and do your actions. So for example, sometimes you're just spamming attacks and then you miscounted how much AP you were going to use. So it's nice to just take the time to be like, okay, which attack cards or which cards I want to be playing in general, how much AP is that going to cost me, and do I have enough AP to make it happen? And then the other thing to consider is when you're drawing cards, if your hand is full, then you won't be able to draw the cards that you need. So sometimes what I do a lot is, if I'm going to draw, I count all the cards in my hand to make sure that I will be able to draw the cards that I need. So the fifth tip I have for you guys is to plan your mind breaks intentionally. It might be that you have an elite fight coming up or the final boss and your stress is pretty high, so you can always take like an easier combat node, stall out turns, and slowly build up your stress so that you then enter your mind break, play all the cards to get out of it, and then you're going to go into the more important fight later on with pretty much no stress, which can definitely help a lot. And last but not least, the last tip I have for you guys is to always make sure you heal before you finish combats in Chaos. Sometimes I forget to heal and I just play the attack to kill the enemy, and that can really hurt you in the long run, because if you're not at full HP already and you're healing up, you're actually removing stress from your combatants, and that can go a long way to just slowly mitigating stress throughout the run so that you don't end up having a mind break too soon or too often. So yeah, it sounds really obvious, but just make sure you're healing up when you can before finishing a fight. And that's my last tip for you guys. And that's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the tips and found them helpful. If you think I missed any of them, definitely make sure to leave a comment with your own tips that you can share. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.